Okay, so I'm using three different approaches right now, and I was having trouble, especially at the depths of anxiety, figuring out what I was supposed to do when, how to move through it. Was I making it worse by applying tools? How do I do this? What do I do? I was really getting a little bit lost on occasion, on some days. Some days were better, um, but on some days I was getting completely lost. And this morning I had this experience where I woke up with anxiety, which is fairly common for me. Um, and I have different ways of working through it, but sometimes it gets so strong it just is there the entire day. And I I kind of worked through it in a way that I think sort of put together the different pieces for myself and was able to kind of make sense of maybe an approach that will work for me going forward. We shall see. Sort of integrating the previous things that I've been talking about, um, and but sort of how they all kind of can work together, different aspects of different approaches. So I'm gonna just I think I'm gonna start with describing what approaches I used, and then I might go into a little more detail about each of those approaches. I'm gonna kind of this may be a little backwards, but I'm gonna try this way. I was having trouble doing it the other way. Um, so I woke up with this anxiety at like 7:30, and it's sort of uncomfortable feeling, and kind of you just don't want to stay in bed, you know. And ideally, what I should be doing is sitting with that sensation and allowing it to move through. But when you're half asleep, that's kind of hard to do sometimes. Sometimes I can do that. Um, it's usually a better idea to just get up and move that energy out. It can be like stress hormones sitting in your body, whatever. It was some stuff that I'd worked on overnight in my body that was releasing or whatever. So I got up and started walking around. And sometimes that will be enough for me, just walking very slowly and breathing around the space. That's really helpful for me to do. In this case, it was pretty strong. So I just had this impulse, and this has to do with the somatic experiencing work I do, learning to kind of attune to your body. You sort of become, one of the things that you learn over time is what your body needs at what time. You can't really say you do this in this situation, do this and that. It's kind of like, it depends on how activated my system is, how much sleep I've gotten, what I've eaten, it's so many different factors. You kind of just have to be tuned into what your body needs. So that's the whole approach of somatic experience is about that, like learning to attune to yourself, learning to kind of be comfortable in your body, and learning to attune to what it is your body needs at any given time. So what I felt there very, very strongly, surprisingly strongly, was doing one of Amy Scher's techniques. She has this technique. It's called thymus test and tap, and your thymus gland is here, and you tap here. It's like this little. It sticks out a little bit from your. You can feel a little bump there. And you tap on it, and then you release various emotions. She has a list of emotions in her book, and she has oracle cards that do the same thing. She has several books actually, but this is How to Heal Yourself When No One Else Can is one of her main books. She does have a book on anxiety as well, and a book on depression, and some other books as well. I like the How to Heal Yourself book. I think that has a good overview and good background. So I was using the thymus test and tap, and I was just releasing whatever. I kind of know somewhat the list. I haven't memorized it, but I realized at that point, or I realized I think afterwards, really, that the previous day, which was sort of quite anxiety filled for me, and the anxiety kind of becomes a buffer from feelings, and they're getting stuck. They're not getting processed. I'm like pushing everything aside, and that was why the anxiety was getting so strong. Pushing down my feelings, what I was experiencing, and then I can't even take anything in. So it sort of becomes a little bit of protection. So I realized I kind of had all this pent up, unprocessed emotions, and that's what one of Amy Scher's techniques is, to release those emotions that have been stuck in the system. So I sort of realized that I had them, and that's what I needed to do, and it kind of was instinctively just doing that. So I walked around for like several minutes, releasing whatever I felt intuitively had come up the day before that I hadn't really moved through my system. And so you just sort of say, releasing frustration, like I let go, or releasing, releasing. And then releasing anger, let go, let go. And you can kind of go through a whole set of emotions. And it's calming to do that. It's a little bit like doing EFT, except you're staying in one spot. I mean, it's a different approach. It's not EFT. It's its own thing. But I sometimes have used EFT in kind of a similar situation in the past. I really didn't want to do it. I really was very instinctively, again, just needing to do that. And so I was walking around, and also I tend to have tension here, so it may have gone along with that. But yeah, so I was walking, sorry, I'm rambly here. So I used that for several minutes walking around, and it's still quite strong. So I was able to sit down, and I used her oracle cards. I pulled them out and actually picked cards. She has a set of oracle cards with each of those emotions written on it, to release, and then some to install. So I just picked some. You just sort of do it intuitively, just in case I had missed anything, and it's a good practice. So I used that for a few minutes as well, and then I did installed some more positive emotions after that. And so I was a little bit calmer at that point. Just doing that alone is helpful. And after that, I'm trying to think. I think I did her alternative temple tapping technique, which is for anxiety. I did it just for a very short while. And then I decided to do another technique of hers, the sweep technique. And that's a great technique because it works on your subconscious. And it's also really calming for the nervous system when you have anxiety. I probably would have been too anxious to use it starting off. So this was good that I did those things instinctively. And then when I was a little bit calmer, I could sit down. And it's this script you read through, and you put something in at the beginning and at the end. You're releasing something, you're releasing a belief or an energy, and then you're installing a better belief or a more positive energy or more helpful energy. So I was kind of working on my anxiety. I think I was working on the belief. I did it like 2 or 3 times, working on the belief that my anxiety was sort of protecting me, or that I felt like I needed it. And then I think I installed that I was safe without the anxiety. And so then I was calm enough to actually sit with the sensation that had been there at the beginning. So after I did the sweep, it was kind of calmer. I was lying down, and I just kind of it's hard especially when it's a strong emotion or sensation. And I just kind of, I have this way of just sort of visualizing into my body, sort of seeing into it wherever that tension is, and try to kind of give awareness and attention, and it kind of will dissolve and dissipate as you do that. And I kind of usually will picture a little image of where the tension is. It's sort of like gray and foggy a little bit. And then as you do that, it kind of dissolves and dissipates often. It doesn't do it necessarily right away. It can take several minutes, or it can take 20 minutes. I mean, I don't know how long I spent there, maybe 10, 15 minutes. Might have been less though. And then you breathe deeply, really helps, and try to be relaxed. And then you do things also like feeling your feet, feeling the surface you're sitting on, feeling the support, so that you feel safe. You can look around the room. There are various techniques. Again, this is the somatic experience part of it. And it kind of, I relaxed. I actually got to a fairly calm place. And then after that, I had anxiety coming up throughout the day. I am in a fairly sensitized state still. I talked about this a couple weeks ago, sensitized versus desensitized. I'm still sensitized, and so I was kind of avoiding techniques a little bit because I was feeling like that was too much. And a few days ago it might have been, but I have been sleeping better and have more energy and have been a little bit more balanced. So I felt like I was in a place to use them. So even though my nervous system is really can be at times rather sensitized, I did decide that I wanted to use these techniques, and I think that was really helpful to use them. So I'm trying to think what I was saying here. So throughout the day, then I kind of came back to the same concept of just kind of sitting with the anxiety or whatever sensation was coming up, the discomfort. Again, this is the attunement part of it. You kind of just have to be aware when it's arising, and it's easy if you're in the middle of doing 100 things to just not notice it, and it can get really powerful. So I was lucky that today kind of was a slow day, and I could just kind of pay attention to it, and just kind of stop when I needed to stop, because when you're in the sensitized state, it's really, your system can get triggered very easily. And so a lot of it is just lack of sleep or a backlog of sleep, even though it's better now. So just doing activities can just bring up anxiety, just the physical exertion, or just, small things can bring up the anxiety. So, and then it can get, it can kind of overtake your system if you kind of don't allow, if you're resisting. This is what I was talking about again a few weeks ago. If you're resisting it when that comes up, if you're not paying attention and you're just automatically resisting it, it can kind of get much worse. So you kind of have to notice it, stop what you're doing, notice it, and let your body just feel whatever it's feeling, so that it can move through. And I have ways of allowing my nervous system to settle. This is again from somatic experiencing work that I'm doing. I have one technique that works for me. Everybody has kind of probably different things that work for them. I have this one where you put your one hand under one armpit and the other hand under the other one. It's a little funny, but it's very comforting though. And then you can also cross your ankles if you're sitting up. You can do that. Sometimes I like to do that. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Again, you kind of have to feel your way through it, what feels right and what doesn't, what's relaxing and what isn't. That crosses you, and your energies can cross over. When you do that, for me, that was really, really helpful, that particular position. So that, and if I sit in a chair that has good support, not like a stiff chair, but like a chair where you can lean back a little bit, or in a comfortable place like a couch or something where you can just sit and relax, that will help me kind of settle down my nervous system. And just really just stopping and breathing for a bit and letting myself, I'm a little out of shape probably as well. But yeah, so just allowing the system to settle. And that's what I've been working with throughout the day. And I've been fairly okay for most of the day. I did feel these sensations where I was like, oh, this on another day might really overtake me and really disable me. But I'm allowing it to be there, and I'm not getting scared by it, and I'm not afraid of it, and I'm just letting it move through, and it will move through, So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of say, so that's the process. So now I'm going to try to kind of put these different pieces together that I've kind of had. I hope that sort of shows as an example of again, you kind of have to feel your way into these things, because sometimes using these tools are not helpful, and sometimes they're extremely helpful. And you kind of sometimes all you need to do is just breathe and sit and breathe. And sometimes those techniques can be lifesavers, or can make profound changes. So it was really helpful for me today. And it's been really helpful in shifting me over the last few weeks as well, using some of these techniques. I want to kind of talk a little bit about the programming, the subconscious part of it, which is, again, powerful. And again, I'm going to backtrack a little bit here. So I kind of want to put these different pieces together. So the somatic experiencing work I do, I always reference the work of Irene Lyon, and she's sort of against any of these kind of EFT or any of those techniques. She considers them sort of not really doing the deeper work on healing your nervous system. And I would really wholeheartedly disagree with that one. Some of these techniques can be good in the moment, like as I was using them, but I was also using them, the sweep technique is quite powerful, and when you use them together, it's super powerful, because it really is addressing, it's reprogramming your subconscious, or repatterning. You're changing your patterns. There's an interruption in that pattern. So that's why I don't think it's harmful to use them when you're sensitized, because you're kind of, again, if you're really in that moment where you just can't think and can't do anything, that's probably not the moment to use it, when it's just that strong. Not to use the sweep, I mean. But you just kind of have to kind of get your system a little bit more relaxed to be able to kind of work on that. But Again, and that's kind of an attunement issue. It's kind of like learning what you can do when, and when you're really panicked, it's kind of hard to know what to do, frankly. That's what I kind of been trying to work out over time here, when in my calmer states, when I can kind of think about it, kind of not overthink it, but kind of let it kind of integrate automatically. And now it kind of made sense for me. So yeah, I disagree with Irene Lyon in terms of the energy approach is not working at a deeper level, because your subconscious, this is my take on this. Okay. Also, well, let me go back to the DARE method as well, and Maggie Sterling, who I think it's a great approach. Again, a lot of people have used that. So Maggie has a video also where I watched a couple of days ago, where she's talking about how she works through anxiety when it comes up, or these uncomfortable sensations, how to sit with the kind of a sensation. And I'm going to link that below, because it's kind of a good example of kind of what you do within somatic experiencing. She's kind of saying how somatic experiencing didn't work for her. I mean, not somatic experiencing, somatic technique. I don't know the word she used, but it was a different, I don't think she used somatic experiencing, because if you're just using those, techniques to work on your nervous system and nervous system regulation, that may not get to the deeper issue. It depends, what you're doing. The somatic experiencing, sitting with your sensations, that is, and attuning to yourself and learning how to do that and learning how to be with yourself, that is healing your nervous system at a deeper level. But in any case, she has a really good example of doing that, and sitting in her car and just feeling this. You have to kind of not think about what the sensation, you have to think about the sensations as sensations, and just not attach anything to it, and just observe it and notice it, be curious about it, and kind of get a little bit removed from it. And again, the awareness itself is really helpful. But you just can't, you just want to just be with it. And then if you can be with it long enough, it will usually move. And she shows an example of that. And again, I'm going to link it. And then she likes to verbally process, I'm also a verbal processor, which is why I'm doing these YouTube videos. And that's helpful for her. But yeah, the DARE method, and I have my notes here, and Maggie's method, they don't believe in releasing traumas, and I don't think they really believe that the EFT or other approaches help at all. So again, I disagree with them on that. DARE method, again, a lot of people use. It's similar to Maggie's approach, I think. I like the way Maggie was describing sensitized versus desensitized, but I don't think I agree that in a sensitized system you can't use any techniques. And again, that's the DARE approach too. This is where I think you really, again, I think you have to be a little bit calmer when you start to use them, but reprogramming the subconscious, I think that's an EFT as well. I really do think those both, EFT also works that way, in a similar way. It helps to break up patterns, break, habituated, long-standing patterns. It really helps to kind of release them. So I really think those are powerful techniques, and I'm kind of, so I think I said most of what I want to say here, except I think I haven't put all these pieces together. Sorry. Oh, I know, there's one more piece that I want to add here. So the other part of this is this idea of sort of, not everybody may believe in energy healing and energy approaches. So the Amy Scher approach it works with energy, but it's working with emotions, beliefs, experiences, and different techniques to work with each of those. And she developed her own techniques. She uses EFT and other techniques as well. Again, I feel like, and again, I'm maybe pushing this a little bit, but I've just used it so much in my life, and it just can be really helpful short term and then long term as well. So the sweep technique works on your subconscious. I think I've said that now a few times. Losing track here. Very super powerful, super powerful. And again, I feel like her work is just not appreciated quite the way it should be. She has a lot of, her books sell internationally, and she has a good following. But I feel like EFT is so popular now. I just feel like her approaches are kind of unique, and and easy to use and just powerful, and they work and they're really helpful. What can be difficult is sometimes figuring out, like if you have a bigger issue, like a lifelong anxiety issue, trying to work through that completely might be challenging if you don't know how to, it's hard to know what to work on when. I kind of got lost sometimes figuring out what do I need to do here or there. Right now, I kind of have a little more clarity on how I'm moving through this all. And I was taking a course with her. I'm in her membership where she was working on anxiety in particular this month. And I talk about that in the last video. I'm not trying to sell her stuff, although I think she really deserves it. But I talked about that in the last video, and that was a whole shift that I haven't quite fully integrated yet. But I'm working on it, like this idea of my relationship to anxiety, because she was talking about anxiety, thinking about it as a kind of an external energy and kind of playing with it and talking to it and interacting with it, but not entertaining it too much, sort of similar again to Maggie and the DARES approach, where you notice it, you don't ignore it because then it'll get bigger, notice it and then kind of send it on its way a little bit and focus on something else. But I kind of started thinking about like how attached I was to anxiety and how much it's a part of my life. So I'm going to do, my homework right now is to do do the sweep on some of those beliefs about, like, for example, that I need anxiety in order to get things done, or anxiety protects me from really uncomfortable, dangerous experiences or uncomfortable experiences, or what is my life without anxiety? What would my life be? Some of those stories there and some of those beliefs that need to move a little bit. I can't kind of say how powerful those techniques can be. The one video, I'm going to link it below, that for me, it was the first thing of hers that I tried. It's this a mini clearing. She has lots of videos online, so maybe something will resonate with you more. I used that, and like 2 days later, I just felt this lightness and just something had cleared, and it was a general clearing. It's just kind of whatever's come up in that moment. And I've used it since. It's really good to just kind of move things through when you're not, So yeah, my last point here, I know I'm a little bit all over the place here, is about energy and movement and energy work. And my feeling about this is, if in an ideal world, we're present at all times and deeply breathing, experiencing all our emotions and sensations as they come in and processing them. And then you don't need to do these other techniques, or not techniques, but, work on your subconscious or release your traumas or those kind of releasing energies, releasing these things that are stuck in your system, which the way I understand it is, stuck energy is what causes various issues. And there's so many different approaches for how to move that energy. But yeah, so in an ideal world, then that makes sense. The DARE method and Maggie Sterling's method makes sense. Like you wouldn't need to work on traumas. You wouldn't need to release any of these blockages because you wouldn't have them, because you'd be present all the time. But because we're not living that way, I mean, we should be, but we're not. I think we do need, at least at this moment in time, maybe we'll evolve past that eventually. But I do think it's helpful to release your traumas. I think they do cause issues, and I think there's some science that supports that. Irene Lyon probably has the some science, the evidence there on her website somewhere to support that. There are these ACE studies saying how when you have trauma as a child, it can really impact your health later in life. And doing this trauma work, doing this somatic experiencing work can really kind of help and really improve your health on all sorts of levels. And same with Amy Scher's work. It's working on healing your body, and I love it because it's sort of like, it's almost fun to use. I mean, it's just easy to use, and it's meant for people who are really, don't have a lot of energy, who are feeling sick and just need something simple and easy and quick. It's designed that way, and it works powerfully. So I just think these things all work together, different parts. I don't know if I've done a good job of explaining the different parts and quite how it all fits together. Maybe I'll do that again when it's all sort of settled a little bit more. But yeah, just this one last point about movement. So, there's a lot of things you can do. I'm going to do another video about kind of daily practices. Again, when you have anxiety, it is a good idea not to overdo the methods and the healing approaches, and it's so tempting to try everything and to do everything. And I did use different approaches today. But, sometimes your nervous system just needs to chill and just settle and be quiet and have stillness and have no, input. But, when you're in a little bit of better shape, and even if you're have some sensitization, daily practices to help move your energy in some way, shape, or form just helps you be able to kind of process things a little more easily, have things flow. So I'm all for doing, whatever resonates with you in terms of movement. But, I have a list here. So Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, breath work, Kundalini yoga, walking, swimming, lymphatic work is one of the ones I use. I use lymphatic. I use Donna Eden's daily energy routine and something from Prune Harris as well. Those are my go-tos, but I'll do those in another video. I'm talking about many different things here. But those are just sort of daily practices. But yeah, so my point was, in terms of moving the energy, because, ideally we do want things flowing. We want to be able to take in our experiences, metabolize them, and process them and move on, and not hold on to things and not have them get stuck and cause blockages and cause problems. And these techniques, these different approaches, all help with that. So Amy Scher's approaches work energetically, and on the subconscious work is sort of energy work as well. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but yeah, that's you're helping to move that kind of stuck energy, and EFT does that as well because it works on the various meridians. So you really are kind of accessing various places where it might get stuck and helping it to move. And the same thing with this, you're kind of it's allowing some movement of that energy back there, behind the thymus. And some people may not believe in it. You're fine. You don't have to try it, but try it. See how it works. But yeah, these practices, qigong, can be really helpful, and whatever practices resonate with you. What I found for myself years ago, I tried to heal my anxiety with qigong. And man, was I overdoing it, and it was stressing me out, and I was forcing myself to do it. So in general, this is again the attunement thing. If you're forcing yourself to do it because you think it will be good for you and doesn't feel right, you're probably just stressing out your system, and that's probably not going to help it. So it is sort of like going with the flow, allowing. I don't know if I talked about the allowing quite here. I was trying to describe that. That was what I was talking about in that Maggie Sterling video, many videos ago. That if you can really allow these sensations to move through, they will, if you can bring your presence and awareness to them. All right, I think I kind of rambled here. This is getting very long. I am going to run out of space on my phone. So I think this covers it. I'll do more. I'll talk more about it later. I'll give you updates as to where I'm at or what my thinking is on this thing, on all of this. And that's it for now.